How much do you weigh right now?
I am so close, you can't even imagine.
Official weight 173.5. Mr. Hendricks has missed weight.
Weight cutting is one of the most controversial and brutal aspects of mixed martial arts. In order for fighters to gain a size advantage, they cut a massive amount of water weight and, in doing so, compromise their health. Although most fighters come in at the required weight limit, there are a few cases where fighters have failed to do so. So for this list, we'll be looking at some of those fighters. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Now, without further ado, here's a list of 10 fighters who have missed weight inside the UFC. Number 1. Renan Barão. Ever since losing his title to TJ Dillashaw, Renan Barão has had some serious weight cutting problems. The worst example came prior to his rematch with TJ, where Barão actually passed out while cutting water in a sauna, causing him to smack his head on a bathtub and black out. Barão was immediately pulled from the fight and replaced by Joe Soto. Since then, Barão has missed weight twice. Once prior to his fight at UFC Fight Night 137, where he weighed in at 141.7 pounds. The second time came ahead of his fight with Luke Sanders, where he weighed in at 138 pounds. Number 2. Darren Till. Darren Till is known as a massive welterweight, so his cuts down to 170 pounds aren't easy. Due to his size, Darren Till has had some of the most brutal weight cuts in the UFC. Unfortunately, not all of his attempts have been successful. Prior to his fight at UFC Liverpool, Darren Till failed to make the weight limit ahead of his showdown with Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, weighing in at 174 pounds. Till ended up winning the fight in a close decision, and since then has continued to make weight successfully, but he takes extreme measures to get there. Number 3. Mackenzie Dern. Mackenzie Dern has put on some impressive performances, but part of that success has been overshadowed due to coming into fights heavier than her opponents. Out of her 7 pro fights, Mackenzie Dern has missed weight 3 times. Her latest weight issue came at UFC 224, where Mackenzie Dern ended up missing weight by over 7 pounds. Even more frustrating was the fact that she ended up winning the fight. In her defense, she did own up to her mistake, swearing she would never miss weight again. Still, only time will tell if she keeps her word. Number 4. YOEL Romero. UFC middleweight Yoel Romero is currently the only fighter in UFC history to miss weight in 2 title fights. The first time came ahead of his interim title fight with Luke Rockhold when Yoel stepped in at short notice, weighing in at 187 pounds. Although he won the fight by knockout, he was ineligible to win the interim title. Yoel Romero also missed weight prior to his fight with Robert Whittaker at UFC 225, when he tipped the scales at 185.2 pounds. Yoel looked terrible following his UFC 225 weigh-in and could be seen needing assistance just to keep himself standing. Number 5. Johny Hendricks. Former welterweight champion Johny Hendricks has failed to make weight on 4 different occasions. One of the worst incidents came at UFC 192, where he suffered intestinal blockage and kidney stones due to his weight cut. This, as you'd imagine, caused the fight to be cancelled altogether. After that, Johny Hendricks went on to lose his next 3 fights, missing weight at UFC 200 as well as UFC 207. His weight struggles actually forced him to move up to middleweight, however in just his second middleweight fight, Hendricks missed weight again, coming in at 188 pounds. He then proceeded to lose by knockout. Number 6. Anthony Pettis. Former lightweight champion Anthony Pettis is one of the few fighters in MMA who have fought in multiple weight divisions. But that hasn't been without some difficulties weight cutting. After winning his featherweight debut, Anthony Pettis was granted a shot at the interim featherweight title, but failed to make the 145-pound weight limit ahead of his showdown with Max Holloway. Instead, he weighed in at 148 pounds. As a consequence, he became ineligible to win the interim featherweight title, becoming just the second fighter to miss weight for a title fight since Travis Lutter back in UFC 67. Number 7. KELVIN Gastelum. KELVIN Gastelum has done very well at middleweight, but his move up to middleweight wasn't voluntary. He was actually forced up a weight class after repeatedly being unable to make the welterweight limit. Just 2 fights into his UFC career, KELVIN Gastelum missed weight by about 2 pounds. His weigh-in attempt at UFC 183 was even worse, when KELVIN came in way over the 170-pound limit at 179 pounds. He also failed to make weight ahead of his fight with Donald Cerrone and was permanently banned from competing in the welterweight division. Although he has made weight in all of his middleweight bouts, it hasn't been without some difficulty. Number 8. KHABIB Nurmagomedov. KHABIB Nurmagomedov usually comes in at the required weight. However, he did once fail to make the weight at UFC 160, coming in 2.5 pounds over the lightweight limit prior to his fight with Abel Trujillo. He made weight in his next fight at UFC 165, but just barely, as officials had to bring out a towel in order for KHABIB to make the weight. Although he hasn't missed weight since UFC 160, he's had some serious weight cutting complications. A good example came ahead of his interim fight with Tony Ferguson at UFC 209, when the fight was called off after KHABIB was hospitalised due to his weight cutting issues. Number 9. Anthony Johnson. Looking at Anthony Johnson, it's hard to believe he once competed in the welterweight division. Anthony Johnson has missed weight twice as a welterweight, once by 6 pounds and another by 7 pounds. This forced him up to the middleweight division. Even with the change in weight class, Anthony Johnson came in way over the weight limit ahead of his middleweight debut against Vitor Belfort, missing weight by 11 pounds. The fight became a 197 catchweight bout, which Johnson lost by submission. Subsequently, Johnson was released by the UFC soon after. Since his release, Johnson missed weight once again, coming in at 195 pounds. Number 10. Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz normally comes in at the required weight, but has had several close calls with the scale. Nate Diaz first missed weight at UFC 141, coming in 1 pound heavy. However, Diaz finally made the weight after being given an extra hour. Nate Diaz has also missed weight by a large margin prior to his fight with fellow lightweight Rafael dos Anjos at UFC on Fox 13, where he came in at 160.6 pounds. Although he hasn't missed weight since, he came close ahead of his championship fight with Ben Henderson, missing weight twice before finally making the lightweight limit on the third attempt. As always, if you enjoyed this video, then let me know by leaving a like and subscribing to our channel. Other than that, thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next video.
You never have a doubt, do you like me now? Am I good enough now? Should I get more loud? Till you hear the fucking sound? Oh no, I'm losing my shit again, having to fit again. Man, I'm forgetting when I used to have some friends. I used to play pretend, we all grow up and then hating my phone and trends. I'm about to blow my head, nobody knows I'm dead. Fear I'm a ghost instead, think that I'm close, I get straight comatose in bed. Try to go slow with breath, breathe out my nose and head. Heart doesn't go the trend, faster it goes.